Okay, today we'll start Newton's second law of motion. In fact, this part is related about linear momentum and Newton's second law of motion. Now, before going to Newton's second law of motion, first of all, we should understand what do we mean by momentum or linear momentum. Now, consider, say, two bodies, body A and a body B. So that means in this case we can say that the mass of B is greater than mass of A. Okay. Now if I want to move this body, these two bodies, by applying a force and such that they acquire same velocity. That means I want to move this body with a velocity say 10 meter per second, suppose example, and I want to move this body also with a velocity of 10 meter per second. So that means in these two bodies the masses are different, but I want to move them with the same velocity. Now how I can move? That's from Newton's first law, that a force has to be there, an external force has to be there. So I am giving a force F1 and I am giving a force F2. That means I am giving two different forces. I require two different forces. It's not that their velocities are same and therefore I have to give same force, because the mass of the two bodies is different and I want both of them to move with the same velocity. So for A I have to give a lesser force and for B I have to give a greater force. Why? The difference is the mass here. So that means from here what we can understand, that greater the mass of the body, more force is required to move the body to a same extent, right? So this is one case. Now consider another case. Now same body, okay, two different situations. Same body means mass are same. The mass of the both the bodies M and N, their body is same. In the first case, I want the body to move with a velocity of 10 meter per second. And in the second case, I need to move the body with a greater speed, say 20 meter per second. So in this case also you can understand that you require two different forces. You require two different forces. And in this case, what can I say? That F4 is greater than F3. The mass of the two bodies is same, but they have to be moved with a different velocities. In the first situation, I am just increasing the speed to 10. In the second situation, I am increasing the speed to 20. So for that, I have to give two different forces. So when the speed is 10, I am giving suppose F3 and the body is moving with 10 meter per second. And when I am giving a force F4, the body is moving with a 20 meter per second. So that means I require greater force. And in this case also you can see that F2 was greater than F1. So what we understood in these two cases? In these two cases we understood that if the masses are different, to move a body with the same velocity, I require different forces. The body having a greater mass require more force, right? Masses are different but velocities are same, so I require more force in case of B because the mass is greater. in this case what I have seen, the mass of the bodies are same, but they are moving with a different velocity, so I require to give them a greater force in case of this second case. Okay. Now converse is also true. Converse is also true means now the body, now imagine that these two bodies, again come to these two bodies. Now these two bodies are moving. Okay. This is also moving at 10 meter per second and this is also moving at 10 meter per second. And as usual the mass of B is greater than mass of A. Now I require to stop the body. Now for stopping the body also I have to give a force in the opposite direction. I have to give a force. Now here also you can understand that in case of B, I have to give a greater force to stop, although both are traveling at same velocity, but their masses are different. Now in this case also you can understand. Now here also imagine that these are two different bodies. Imagine these are two different bodies of same mass, and one body is traveling at 10 meter per second and another body is traveling at 20 meter per second. Now I require to stop this body. In this case also I require, in the second case I require a greater force to stop the body, and in this case I require a lesser force. So finally I get a concept here that greater the mass of the body, more force is required to stop or start the body, and greater the velocity of the body, more force is required to start or stop the body. So therefore we can see that this force actually depend on the mass and velocity of the body. How much force is required to stop or start, it depends upon how much mass of the body is there, or how much velocity is there, or how much velocity I require. And in fact force actually depends upon the product of mass and velocity, because anything can change, any situation can come. Like this I have told you, two different mass having same velocity, two same mass having different velocities, in both cases forces are different. So therefore in fact force depend upon this mass and velocity, and this product of mass and velocity is called linear momentum. So if I want to calculate the momentum of this body, or momentum of this body, or momentum of this body, or momentum of this body, I have to multiply mass and velocity, and from this momentum we can calculate force, from this momentum. So that's about momentum, understand? So definition of momentum is that the momentum, in fact momentum is equal to the product of mass and velocity of the body, is called the linear momentum of the body, understand? And momentum is a vector quantity, that means it has a direction, and its direction is always along the direction of the movement of the body, that means it is along the direction of the velocity of the body. Whichever direction the velocity of the body is going, that will be the direction of the momentum, and therefore we say momentum, linear momentum is a vector quantity. Linear momentum is a vector quantity. And SI unit of momentum, you can understand that mass, the SI unit is kg and velocity is meter per second. So SI unit of momentum, SI unit is kg meter per second. So SI unit of linear momentum is kg meter per second, and similarly CGS unit will be what? Gram centimeter per second. Understand? Okay. Okay, now Newton's second law of motion. Now it states that the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied. Just now you have seen that greater the mass, more will be the force. Greater the velocity, more will be the force. That means actually force depend upon the momentum. In fact, force depend upon the momentum means it depends upon the rate of change of momentum. I'll explain you later, but first see what the law states. So it states that the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the force applied, and this change takes place in the direction of the force. So that means the change in momentum is in the direction of the force. So that is called the rate. That is Newton's second law of motion. Okay. Now from this Newton's second law of motion, we can derive a formula for force, and that is force is equal to mass into acceleration. So in this derivation only you can understand about the Newton's second law of motion and how from that second law of motion this formula came. From the second law of motion only this formula can be derived. So F equals to mass into acceleration. Now if I take a later body of mass is equal to m, and let the initial velocity of the body, that means the body is moving, already moving, initial velocity of the body is u, right? That means a body of mass m, it's moving with a velocity u, and when a force F is applied to the body in the direction of the motion, that means the body is pushed, you can say. It was already moving with a velocity u, and we are applying a force, some force F to the body. When a force applied to the body in the direction of the motion for t second, because when I am applying a force it is taking some time, so the time of application of the force is t second. Then what will happen is velocity will change, then its velocity increases to v. So that means increases to v now. So now from here what we can say that initial momentum of the body will be what? Now initial momentum of the body will be mu, mass into velocity, mass into initial velocity. Similarly final momentum, now final momentum will be m into v, and therefore I can say the change in momentum means final momentum minus initial momentum, that is the change in momentum. Now this change in momentum is for in how many second? Yes, the change in momentum in t second. I can say the change in momentum in t second is this final momentum minus initial momentum. That means actually what? mv minus mu, and therefore I can say the change in momentum. Now change in momentum in 1 second. Yes, it will be mv minus mu by t. So that means this is change in momentum in 1 second, and you know change in momentum in 1 second means what? Change in momentum in 1 second means rate of change of momentum, right? So change in momentum in 1 second means rate of change of momentum. Like change in velocity in 1 second is acceleration. That's called rate of change of velocity. If you remember the definition of acceleration, rate of change of velocity is called what? Acceleration. So that means that is change in velocity per second, and that was called acceleration. Now change in momentum per second is called force. That means mv minus mu by t. So finally what we got? We got, if I take m common, I get v minus u right? And I get what? You know why? Because since acceleration means what? V minus u by t, that's change in velocity by time. That's change in velocity per second, and you know this equation of motion. So a equals to v, so I can say that v minus u by t means a. So finally what we got? We got rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration. So up to this much we have derived that rate of change of momentum means what? Mass into acceleration. Okay, so finally we got what? Rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration. Now according to second law, Newton's second law of motion, what we know? It states that the force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. That means greater the rate of change of momentum, greater will be the force. That means F is directly proportional to m into a, because rate of change of momentum is equal to mass into acceleration. Now from proportion to equals to, if I put, I have to give a constant m into a, and where k is the proportionality constant. Now the unit of force is chosen in such a way so that if m is equal to 1, a equals to 1, then f will be 1, and hence the value of k also becomes 1. The thing is that this part many of the students don't understand this. How that f equals to kmn becomes f equals to ma, whereas how we got the value of k as 1. Now in the first chapter of physics, in measurement and experiment, we have studied about that unit, the properties of unit. Now the unit is chosen in such a way such that it is a simple value. It does not create any confusion or any complicity. So scientists have chosen that unit of force means Newton, or the lower unit is dyne. Now if I talk about Newton, scientist has chosen, now see in this part, scientist has chosen 1 Newton force will be how much? Unit is chosen by human being only, and scientist, and the scientist always choose the unit in a convenient value. It's not a very complicated value, so that every time you write or use a unit it's very complicated. So they want to make it simple. So they told what? 1 Newton force will be how much? That if a body having a mass of 1 kg, and if an acceleration is produced in the body as 1 meter per second square, then force will be, that much force will be 1 Newton. So that's chosen by scientist. So that is the meaning of that. The unit of force is chosen in such a way such that if m equals to 1 and if a equals to 1, in that case f will also be 1. So that means I can say that f equals to k into m into a. This is where we have last finished the derivation. Now if I put 1 in place of f, and if I put 1 in place of m, and if I put 1 in place of a, then finally the value of k should be 1, and hence the value of k is taken as 1. Okay, so therefore finally we can say that f equals to 1 into ma, and finally we got f equals to m into a, mass into acceleration. So finally we can say that force is equal to mass into acceleration. Understand? Okay. Okay, now for the same derivation, we'll do an alternative method. Okay, now the first method, you should always, whenever they ask you derive F equals to ma, it is better to use that first method. But alternative method also, you have to understand the concept. It will be used later on. So therefore I am explaining you this method also. Now again, according to Newton's second law, I'm writing in short. Again, force is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. Okay, that means force is directly proportional. Rate of change of momentum means what? It means change in momentum by change in time. So that is the rate of change of momentum, and therefore I can say change in momentum, I can write it as like this, delta p, and change in time I can write as delta t. In science, you know, this delta represent, this is a delta sign, capital letter delta. This delta sign represent change. So when I say m means mass, when I say delta m means change in mass. When I say t means time, delta t means change in time. So I can say F is directly proportional to delta p by delta t. Now F is directly proportional to m into v by delta t, right? Because momentum means mass into velocity. And therefore I can see F is directly, I am taking m out, delta v by delta t, it becomes like this. You know why? Because mass of a body is constant, mass does not change. But you know, we still now we have learned that mass does not change, but mass changes in a special case. But in normal case, in every case that you know, we know generally mass of a body is constant. Now, when a mass of a body is constant, when the velocity of the body is much less than the velocity of light. So, any moving body, if the velocity of the body is much less than light, you know, most of the body in this world, or whatever we know, normal bodies, their speed is naturally very much less than light. So as long as the velocity of the body is much less than light, the mass of the body is constant. Okay, but if the velocity of the body approaches to light, means comparable to light, nearer to light. Now it can't be equal to light or greater than light, because nobody in the universe is having equal to light or greater than, so impossible till now. So therefore, so general case we know that everybody's body's velocity is much less than light, and in every case therefore we can say that the mass of the body is constant. So therefore delta m cannot happen, change in mass. So therefore mass is out, and now I can say F is proportional to m into A, because A means delta V by delta t, because A means change in velocity by change in time. So therefore I can say that F equals to K ma, and now as usual in the previous case, that the unit is chosen in such a way such that m equals to 1, A equals to 1, then F equals to 1, and therefore the value of K is 1. And finally I can say that F equals to 1 into ma, and therefore I get F equals to ma. Understand? So this derivation, it is why I have explained you, it is just to explain you this concept here, that when the mass of a body is constant, when the velocity of the body is much less than light. But if the velocity of the body is comparable to light, then the mass changes. How it changes? as the velocity increases, the mass of the body increases. Okay, it is out of your scope, but little part is there, so I'll explain you after this. But you should first understand this concept. Okay, when the mass of the body is constant and when the mass of the body is not constant. So if the mass of the body is constant, then only the mass is coming out, and then only m into a is happening. Understand? Okay, now a very important thing, and it is due to this reason I have explained you that alternative method, that under what condition does Newton's second law of motion takes the form F equals to ma. You know, Newton's second law of motion never states this. It does not state that force is equal to mass into acceleration. Newton's second law of motion states that the force is directly proportional to the rate of change of momentum, and that from rate of change of momentum we got mass into acceleration. So that means this F equals to ma, you know, you have to understand that according to Newton's second law of motion, this is Newton's second law of motion. Now k is equal to 1, we know, so directly, and this is m into v by delta t, this also we know, and m will come out and delta v by delta t, because m is constant, so delta m, now when m is constant, that is the main thing. M is constant because the velocity of the body is much less than light. Now when the velocity of the body is much less than light, then only mass is constant. Otherwise the mass is not constant. And since mass is constant, it is coming out, and then only it becomes m into a. So therefore finally what we can say, what is the condition? That F equals to ma is true only when velocity of the body is much less than the velocity of the light. Okay, but now let us take the other case also, when the velocity is approaching to light. So that means F equals to ma is true for Newton's second law of motion. It is true only when the velocity of the body is much less than light, and F equals to ma does not hold true. So F equals to ma is not true when velocity of the body is comparable to light, means closer to light. In that case mass is not constant. But in that case F equals to delta P by delta T is delta T is true. Now this is true. But mass, since mass is not constant, so m into a is not true. Understand what I am telling? But in the previous case it was true, because in the previous case the velocity was much less than the velocity of light, and therefore mass is constant, and since mass is constant we got that form F equals to ma. But here mass is not constant, mass may change, the velocity may also change. So change in momentum does not means only change in velocity, change in momentum may also means the change in mass. Now if mass changes, then mass will not come out, means as we have done in the previous. Now if mass does not come out, it will never take the form F equals to ma. So finally the conclusion is